Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be going over a weekly meta breakdown installment for the Explorer Best of 1 format. We do these for each format on Arena, Best of 1 and Best of 3. Each week we go over the top performing decks on the ladder, get to see what's kind of the new hotness, continued best deck, any kind of innovations each week. And we have a bunch of stats to back up. We're not just arbitrarily saying this deck's the best. And we get these stats from Untapped GG. It's a companion tool that runs alongside your Arena client, tracks your win rates, loss rates, collection, tells you what you can build, which wildcards are missing. Also has a bunch of good in-game like overlay functionality. Kind of enhances your Arena experience. It's free to use a bunch of the functionality of it. The link is in the video description below if you want to click that link, install it, lets them know that you came from here, also helps out the channel. But I will paste all these deck lists if you just want to grab a deck list. They're also in the video description. So we are looking from the week of May 17th to the 24th, and we are looking at a sample size in Platinum to Mythic rank of 47,000 games. So just shy of 50,000 games for the week, which is a good sample size, all things considered. And jumping right into it, the number one deck is Mardu Vehicles, Mardu Greasefang, Mardu Parhelion, Angel Boat combo. And if you're unfamiliar with the deck, really what you're trying to do is self-mill yourself. So you have cards like Stitcher Supplier, you have cards like Fable the Mirror Breaker that can discard cards, the blood tokens from Voldaren Epicure, or like discard Outlet from Lightning Axe, blood token here. And really what you want to do is put cards into your graveyard. Specifically, you want to put Parhelion number 2. The second version is always better. Put Parhelion into your graveyard, and you play Greasefang Okiba Boss. You get to reanimate the Parhelion, crew it immediately. It has haste. You attack for 13, and you're left with two 4/4 angels with vigilance and flying. So it's generally the combo is a turn 3 combo on average. You can technically turn 2 the combo. You would have to do that by milling on 1 with Stitcher Supplier and hitting both Greasefang and Parhelion in the graveyard, and then turn 2 you can't stay awake. So this is one of the more resilient killing combos. A lot of people have kind of complained, you kill what you ban Winota for its consistency and just ability to win on turn 3 if you don't have instant speed removal. This does a very similar case, and it's got a lot of redundancy in the Mardu version because you have these smaller creatures. You can play a mid-range package, Fable the Mirror Breaker, Sorin allows for reanimation, but same with Can't Stay Awake, the boat's some removal as well. So this is a Mardu version. There's also an Esper version that's going around. They've kind of integrated Ledger Shredder into it. That one's a little bit more dedicated on an all-in combo. This one's a little bit more mid-range, and the more mid-range version tends to do a bit better in terms of performance right now. Up next, and there's a few versions of Mono Red for the week. This version here is at 62% win rate. It's the highest win rate. Generally liking what this version is doing. It's very much akin to the historic version minus like the 1 mana goblin that gives something else haste in there. That's pretty much the big difference between it. But really, Kumano pumps up your squad. You're looking turn 2, ideally Burning-Tree Emissary into like Karizev or Robber. This version is on Vortex as well as Rampaging Ferocidon for the anti-life gain effects for like the Angels decks, for example. They've opted for 3 of the 3 drops. Some Annex, some Bonecrusher, some Chainwhirler, some Ferocidons. Falconwrath Pit Fighters, just because like there's not really good 1-drops in the format right now. 3 Torbrand, 3 Embercleave as your top end of the deck. Sokuzan, some Dens, and some Ramunap Ruins mixed in there. So a lot of the mono red decks are just kind of like, some are on 3 of these, some are on something different. The versions I've actually seen as well, and I might just get rid of Roiling Vortex. A lot of the format is fairly aggressive slanted. I would probably cut these and play Lightning Strike. It helps in the Mardu Vehicles matchup to be able to hit Greasefang. And it's just another way of attack in that. So there's kind of 2 mono blue decks that I'm going to feature now, and kind of different flavors. This version is actually incredibly budget friendly. It's a mono blue tempo deck, and it is 6 rares, 4 mythics for the whole deck. A lot of these decks kind of function in the same manner. So this is mono blue tempo, the other version is mono blue spirits. It's a little bit more expensive in terms of wild card. It's more of a synergy based deck. But really what you want to do in this deck here is to protect the queen strategy. So you get an evasive dork and then you protect it with like Siren Storm Tamer, counter spells, stuff like that. You have Fading Hope for tempo to bounce your stuff or your opponents. You want to hook up a Curious Obsession to keep drawing cards. And then you have stuff like Brazen Borrower's Bounce. Sea Dasher Octopus is another way to like instant speed mutate on, start drawing some cards and protect you around that. It's actually kind of a cool trick to, they target and then you flash it in and it fizzles like a Fatal Push. Some copies of Otawara in the deck as well for the bounce effects of it. So there's this version here, and then there's Mono Blue Spirits, which is comparable win rates, a couple percentage points difference. This version here has got a Spirit package with the Snow Lands. So this one's a little bit more resilient because you do have access to stuff like Faceless Haven, you have Mana Sinks and Ascendant Spirit, which could get bigger. You have Dive Down for protection. You also get access to Geist Snare, which can be a 1 mana leak in this format. Supreme Phantom's a Lord effect. Rattle Chains is another protection spell that also happens to be a creature. Spectral Adversary can phase up stuff. They're starting with Cemetery Illuminator for some card advantage. So this one's a little bit different of a build. And you can see with this deck here, this kind of shows you some of the functionality of Untapped, where I'm missing rare wild cards in terms of these cards. So if I want to build this deck, I'm 8 rares short. I need Supreme Phantoms, and I need Rattle Chains. If I go here, I can see I have 25 rare wild cards, so I could craft this deck if I want. So kind of a cool feature. Up next, we have Bant Angels, which is really mono white angels, splash blue for Glasspool Mimic, splash green for Collected Company. You're really just doing that by having some of the pathways and stuff like that. Similar to kind of the standard version, which we featured earlier this week, Jada Font of Hope allows you to both ramp into more angels and have each angel subsequently come into the battlefield larger. Big bonus that you get in the historic format, or historic and explorer, they're kind of the same deck. Bishop of Wings, any angel coming into play gains you 4 life, as well as when an angel dies, you get a 1/1, so some nice insulation. You also have Resplendent Angel. If you gain 5 or more life for a turn, you get to create a 4/4 angel. So if you have it like in conjunction of Bishop of Wings and another way to gain 1 more life, it kind of chains nicely. With Righteous Valkyrie, same idea. Your main removal is Skyclave Apparition, and that's why you're seeing some of these mono red decks starting to play the Ferocidon in there to shut this deck off. You don't have Soul Warden, unlike the historic version. That's a historic only card, but you have like Speaker of Heavens kind of mixed in there. And that's pretty much it for this deck. This is a deck that's actually been doing pretty well across. I've seen it quite a few times on Twitter with people 7-0ing the leagues. This is Mono Green Stompy, just shy 59% win rate, 610 games. So you have early acceleration in Llanowar Elf. Ideally you want to go 1 into 3 drop. So you have Kazandu Mammoths, Old Growth Trolls, Steel Leaf Champion, a Pseudo Evasion, Yorvo is a scalable threat, Roness is indestructible and you could sink mana into it to give trample. You have the Werewolf Pack Leader as a good body to kind of attack in, draw you cards. Scavenging Ooze could deal with the graveyard decks as well. Primal Knight as removal, Coco to hit these big things, and some Great Henge as card advantage. This version here, you got Castles, Lairs, and Boseiju. So we got Gruul Agro, so another kind of stompy style. So this version here is similar bottom end. It's kind of a mix between the mono red and that. Burning Tree into the 2 drops. You also get Voltaic Brawler, which for 2 turns when it's attacking can become a 4/3 Trampler. Bonecrushers, Gruul Spellbreakers, and Ferocidons is 3 drops. Coco 2 of Questing Beast, so split here. And some Embercleaves at the top. Den is the preferred creature land, 3/1 split. Just a lot of utility lands in this deck, which really makes me happy. How many lands playing? 23, which is good. I've seen some of these Gruul decks at times play like 21 lands when you're trying to hit 4 drops, which seems a little unnecessary, but second to last, we have Rakdos Midrange. So this version here, no Omnixus in this version here. We're seeing a Bloodtithe Harvester, Bonecrusher, Graveyard Trespasser creature package. You have Thirst, Push, Heartless Act, K Command, Stomp, and then like Chandra Minus as all removal, Thoughtseize for disruption, Kroxas for like accrued graveyard value, card advantage again with Chandra and Sorin at the top end. Then Kiki kind of duplicates effects, whole bunch of utility with Kiki in this list. You got utility lands in the castles, the hives, and the dens, and then Sokuzan and Takunuma. And then lastly, Boros Feather. So there's kind of a couple variations. This version here is playing Feather, 19 lands in this, so this just makes it a little bit hard to keep it up. One of my friends from my LGS has been running a featherless version of the deck and has had a lot of success with it in the events, like multiple 7-0s, like lowest amount of wins is 5. Very similar list, but this is kind of modeled off one of the Pioneer lists right now. But you're basically just playing cheap threats. Clever Illuminancer, Illuminator Virtuoso is actually a card that's been like insane in this deck. Whenever you target it, it gets a bonus, and then it gets double strike, so you throw on Trample with like Invigorated Rampage or Ancestral Anger and just gets huge. Same with 10th District. Soulscar Mage is also a card that sees play oftentimes in these. You have God's Willing as protection. Some of them are playing the 1 mana, put a shield counter on it. Just a bunch of pump effects. Fight is 1 for protection. Reckless Rage in this deck is a one-sided removal spell. It can be flashback with Arcanist. So just a lot of utility in the deck there. Play 4 Inspiring Vantages. Don't play the Snarl. You shouldn't. So this mana base is really bad. I'm going to link here. I'm going to link the version my friend played. He's had a lot more success than I have with it, but I only played a couple games. So this version here is a lot better. At least follow this mana base. 4 Needles, 4 Inspiring Vantage. This mana base is really bad. You shouldn't be playing Snarls in this deck, and you should be maximizing on your dual lands as that come into play to give you the maximized amount of untapped. So little things like this is what we want to try to highlight. I'll see if I can get his updated list. I'll post that. But some close games with that. Played a lot of Mono Red. Mono Red's kind of iffy depending on how the removal lines up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Explorer for the week. If there's enough data, I will do best of 3 Explorer. That'll be up around the same time. And we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching.